What is going on? Welcome to the DGD podcast. It is July 1st, 2022. And with us, we have Turner from the Spike Squad. Juan, hope you're having a great day. The brigade is already coming in hot with them #Juan fan clubs. Hashtags. Guys, it's already crazy to believe you're already another month closer to Georgia football. Tell me about it, guys. I am ecstatic. I'm absolutely ecstatic.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for that game in the Benz. I'll be there. Hope to see a bunch of y'all there too.
Man, oh man, we need football in our life, man. There's just too much hypothetical talk going on right now. I need to see results on the field. Juan, how you doing on this Friday, my man?
Man, I'm doing great. We talk about it. It's getting closer to football season, and we got Georgia, about to go ahead and defend this title, which I think that they'll do. We've got a lot of craziness that's happening in college football. So what a great Friday before a 4th of July holiday weekend to talk about some football.
Absolutely. Listen, for the record, no show Monday in observance of 4th of July, so I will repeat that at the end. But Juan, you brought up the perfect point, and let's go ahead and start with the hot topic, the elephant in the room, if you will. Yesterday, and listen, this happened extremely fast, okay? Extremely fast. About like at 12:30, 1 o'clock or something like that, like in the afternoon, early afternoon, news breaks. Hey, listen, UCLA, USC trying to bolt for the Big Ten. And literally within hours, the Big Ten's approved it. So you are going to be looking at the LA schools, UCLA, USC, in the Big Ten starting 2024. I think it caught a lot of people off guard, at least us. At least I'll speak for myself on that. Definitely get y'all's thoughts here as well. Listen, it's a power move by the Big Ten, right? I definitely think it's a power move. With that being said, though, UCLA, USC, I feel like have been wanting to get out of the Pac-12, and we'll talk more about why. But nonetheless, Juan, Turner, what are y'all's thoughts on that news yesterday?
A couple of things. If you really look at it, the way that college football has been going lately is follow the money. And, the Pac-12 is about to, come out of their media deal. And, you're looking at the Big Ten as being something powerful. They got the Big Ten Network. And also, too, if you really look at it, the last time a Pac-12 team has really been relevant was maybe 2010 when you had Oregon versus Auburn in the national championship. In order to have a chance to compete for a national championship, the two places you want to be is going to be the SEC as well as the Big Ten. And there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Clemson, in the ACC, they've been just kind of dominant, but there's also talks of them, jumping ship with Florida State going into the SEC. And outside of that, if you look at the past couple of, the past 10 maybe national championships, it's either been a Big 10 team playing an SEC team or an ACC team playing an SEC team, and that's about it. So in order for them to have an opportunity, they need to go and get into some big boy football, so to speak.
Absolutely. Turner, what do you think, my man? What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I still think, like, when you look at the timetable of how quickly everything turned around, the same thing happened with Texas and Oklahoma, where no one really heard anything. And then all of a sudden, within 12, 24 hours, it goes from possibly doing it to doing it. And I'm just excited. I think it'll make for some really entertaining football because as much as I love to stay up late and watch USC lose to Oregon State, I mean, it really just isn't that entertaining. But, I think this will definitely help them on their recruiting trail, saying, look at this competition that you'll be able to play against now, going against teams like Ohio State, Michigan. And I think it'll just make for more entertaining football every week. So whatever allows me to watch better games, I'm all here for it.
My thoughts on this, right? I think, obviously you see UCLA, USC going to the Big Ten. And Juan, you said it right, man. It's about the money, right? Because if you take what the Pac-12 schools, each school their revenue split of their TV deal and everything like that. And then you bounce that and benchmark it to that of the SEC and that of the Big Ten for that matter, double, even triple the amount, right? But not only that, right? Let's think outside the box here, right? Let's think outside of that green box. Now we start to picture conference matchups between USC and Michigan, right? Think about USC going to the Big House, USC going to Penn State on a whiteout, right? Now, the question lies, do the California schools get the wrath of playing in the cold in November, late November? Think about that. Are they going to be ready for that? Now, I mean, listen, the schools are ready for that money, but now you've got you'll have the footprint of recruiting, right? Because Big Ten schools have that California footprint as well. Now you sit there, the California schools can say, hey, look, you're not playing in the Pac-12 no more. This is big boy football, Big Ten football. So for me, I'm looking at it as, also along the lines of the TV times, right? Turner said it perfect. Ain't nobody sitting there trying to watch USC and Washington State play up until 1 o'clock on a Saturday, right? But you might see this. What if Michigan goes to the Coliseum or Ohio State goes to the Coliseum? Make it primetime in LA. First off, the market's right there. The revenue, you're going to fill some seats. You're going to put asses in seats, no question about it. But even on the East Coast, how many people, even outside of those two fan bases, would tune in, being both of those teams were good for that fact, watching that game in prime time, local time for them, in 7 o'clock Pacific, right? I would sit there till 1 o'clock watching a game like that. I would sit there and watch a USC and a Penn State if they were good, or Ohio State for damn sure. Definitely would sit there and, my TV would be glued until 1 o'clock or whenever the game ended. Hell, it'd be if it's a worthy game. You move out of the Pac-12, you get rid of, let's just be honest, you get out of a shitty conference and you actually get into a relevant conference in regards to the current landscape of college football, right? We're only talking football here. Okay, keep that in mind. I think it's a win-win for UCLA, USC, and the Big Ten. But you're hurting. So with that being said, let's turn to the brigade.
You cut out. You said you're hurting, but you cut out.
Oh yeah. So if you're the Pac-12, you're hurting right now. Like, there's no question about it. You're hurting right now. And let's transition over to the brigade, because the brigade has come in hot and heavy. We'll read some off here. Patrick, the 63-3 DGD says, I'm just thinking about the logistics of UCLA. Doesn't get much further apart than that. Yeah, I mean that's right. That's absolutely right. I mean, that's legitimately a cross-country excursion, if you will, to play a football game.
I don't see Rutgers traveling out to UCLA. I'm sorry. I just don't see, and you don't have that fan base in Rutgers and some of those places up north for them to even want to go and support their team unless they're hot. If you got a 9-0 Rutgers team, yeah, they may, but outside of that, I just don't really see that.
Yeah, I mean, we are less than a year removed from UCLA giving away free tickets in order to fill seats again, with a home opener against LSU.
Right.
If any team in the South has a home opener against LSU, that thing's going to be sold out within 10 minutes of tickets opening up. And UCLA was out here giving away free tickets to high school teams in order to fill seats. And now you're expecting them to travel to the other side of the country. And then same thing with travel. What about the thing that I want to know? What about non-football sports? How is the gymnastics team going to travel from Southern California to Rutgers, or the golf team for that matter? Like, how is that travel? How are those logistics going to work out for those non-football teams?
See, I think that's the key right there, right? I think the revenue, right? The revenue is so football focused that, when you look at these other schools, it's going to be interesting, right? Because, I just don't know how that's worked logistically. That's above my pay grade, right? That's above my pay grade. But, from a football standpoint, like you said, UCLA and Rutgers might be a snooze fest, and you better hope to God it's not a primetime game, right? But with that being said, though, UCLA USC now moves into what would assume to be a Fox contract TV wise, right? With that being said, Fox noon kickoff. Do you see Fox try to push for earlier times Pacific wise for these schools that are in the Big Ten to try and get more East Coast eyes on the games? Do y'all think that's? I think it has to happen, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're going to have to, in order to, especially if they're marquee games. Now, you're going to have your games again, Rutgers versus Purdue, or Purdue versus Iowa. Those games, or Purdue versus a UCLA or USC. I don't think anybody wants to see that. I mean, they may be on radio, if anything. I mean, I don't even think they even be streamed on the internet. But for those big time marquee games, yeah, you're going to have Fox ask for some earlier games. A Penn State versus a USC, Michigan versus USC, and I think more so for USC than UCLA. UCLA, I don't know how they got roped into that deal. Like, if I'm looking at Pac-12 schools that are going to come over, like look at Texas and Oklahoma are two powerhouses that go to the SEC. I'm going to take maybe a USC and either Oregon, USC, or Utah. But I tell you what, it was USC was like, I'm bringing my little brother if that's okay, and they just kind of slide in there.
I think you look at it as them trying to consume the entire LA market from a TV standpoint. Like with UCLA, they're not really known to be the best, but Chip Kelly there, I think they have the potential to be decent, right? So if you get both of the LA schools, what if UCLA turns out to be better than USC over time, right? And LA fans, I feel like LA is the most wishy-washy type place to ever watch a college sport, because I picture back to Liner and Reggie Bush, and that Coliseum was sold out every week, right? You can't even get homeless people to sit in that stadium to watch home games now. So,
well, I think you're sentenced to go to those games if you commit a crime. Or you have to do community service, and I think you have to sit and watch a UCLA or a USC game.
You've been sentenced to 2 home UCLA games.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and you gotta make sure all these people get here, or you're gonna do some hard time.
Two home games is like 20 years, basically, what I'm catching. So, listen. So, as Rude says, I'd feel bad for any Cali team that has to play in the South time zones and the heat. Oof. I'm with you. And let's transition into this conversation. How does this impact the SEC, right? From a grand scheme of things, you see the build up to super conferences, right? I think that's a bold move in that direction, I should say, towards super conferences. How does this impact the USC, right? USC, or not USC, but Texas, Oklahoma join the SEC. Do we see any other schools? Do we see the SEC reach out and try to scoop up any other schools? What are y'all's thoughts there?
I'll let you go first, Turner.
I mean, I think there's a chance, especially with the Pac-12 diminishing, because not too long ago the Big 12 was screwed when Texas and Oklahoma left, and now the Big 12 is in a really good position to pick up some of those teams in Arizona, maybe even Utah. And then I think if that happens, then the SEC could possibly reach out to maybe like we mentioned earlier, Clemson, Florida State. And then, I don't know, maybe even one day, like Notre Dame would go over to the Big Ten, and then you have like a Power 3 conference alignment as opposed to a Power 5 conference alignment. So, but I mean, as we've seen in the past, no one really knows. It all happens within 12 to 24 hours where you don't even expect it. And the next thing you know, it's already happened. So obviously there's no way to tell. There's nothing going on right now, but we could wake up tomorrow and see 3 new news stories about it.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it doesn't necessarily impact the SEC. The SEC is, from top to bottom, I mean, there's not a conference that's going to even be able to compete with them. And so, do they need any more? Do they need any more, powerhouse teams to be relevant? Absolutely. Absolutely not. And if anything, they would probably want to, scrap a couple of teams, if they're going to pull some at least decent teams. Because you get rid of Vanderbilt, you get rid of a Missouri, that's going to be something too. Another thing I would consider, I would think about from even a lesser, even if you call them a group of five or some type of conference, I would take, if I were Stanford, I'd get together with some of those ACC teams like Duke, UNC, and let's just have us a conference with just some smart college guys, because that's really the only. And then you bring Vanderbilt in there. Yeah, or the Ivy League. Yeah. Get in there, do something like that, so that you guys can really be competitive, because those guys are not going to necessarily be, that competitive. I mean, the last time a Duke, UNC, Virginia, Stanford, any of those teams have won the national championship is like never. And it's just not gonna happen. And then you're gonna go and try to compete against the Georgias, of the world, and Ohio States, whatever. It's just not gonna happen. So that's another conversation for them to say, what, and maybe the Pac-10 merges with the ACC. And I know it's going to be difficult from coast to coast, but you've got similar or like-minded teams that are going to be able to at least compete against each other. But no one in the ACC is going to be able to compete with the SEC or the Big Ten, especially after these changes are happening. It's just not possible.
Now, I will say this, and as Rudes brings up, and the 6033 DGD himself, there's a couple teams outside the SEC that are impacted immediately. And I think you have to look at Notre Dame, and you have to look at Texas and Oklahoma. Notre Dame obviously is the lone notable independent, I should say. They're living their best life on that TV deal right now, right? That thing's been forever now, right? I think if you're Notre Dame, some conference is going to reach out to you and try to get you on full time, presumably the ACC, before the Big Ten scoops them up. I guess you could say it really makes sense to do ACC in that regard, right? But nonetheless, right, I think they have to do something now. You're forcing Notre Dame to join a conference because the revenue split. Looking at Texas and Oklahoma, right? The news was they start playing, USC, the California schools. They're starting to play in 24, right? We don't even know what Texas and Oklahoma is doing, right? And when they're coming to the SEC, right? I think you have to look at it as maybe this expedites the process for the Texas and Oklahomas to come in to the SEC sooner, maybe in 2024, and then you see everything take shape, that kind of new realignment start in 24. That's my thoughts on it. But, looking at the SEC, like you said, Juan, SEC is going to be the SEC, okay? You're not going to see a drop-off, and you're going to see, if anything, I think you call for the expansion of the playoffs. I think that's coming because of the level of talent or a level of competition in your conference. It's going to be insane, right? Which is a good thing. You're going to see either two lost teams in the playoffs, or you expand and see what happens there. I think it's good for the SEC. I do, because now you're sitting there. People wanted to argue about SEC, all this and who's the best conference. For the longest time, it's been SEC. Natty after natty after natty shows up, why we're saying this. Now you put those two schools in there. If USC can get their shit together and UCLA can put a pulse on the football program, you take what we know from the Big Ten and you add two possible good teams. Now you're starting to see somewhat more of an even playing field, right? But it's a big what if. Can USC and UCLA provide that value to the Big Ten in regards to competitive football? Because in the past and in recent right now, it's been terrible. Turner said you literally had to give free tickets away to an LSU game. You hosted LSU.
It was home opener too.
Yeah, like that. It screamed, I'm a Lakers fan. I don't care about the Trojans. That's exactly what LA sounds like to me right now. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, it shows you that people in Big Ten country, SEC country, right? College football means a lot more than people out in that big market of LA. Maybe you see that kind of change a little bit, maybe. I just don't see it because as long as LeBron James is at the Lakers, the Dodgers are winning baseball games, nobody gives a shit unless you win games. So USC has to start winning immediately for people in Los Angeles to give a shit. Am I wrong?
Yeah. So, I mean, at least they have 2 years, USC, to win a Pac-12 championship. And if they don't, it's Pac-12 championship or bust for those guys. And unfortunately, the UCLAs and the USCs, they don't have the fan base as Georgia. You know, I mean, you ask Turner and Spike Squad, it doesn't matter where Georgia plays, how many times a year, we're going to show up. And we're going to show up because we have a great football team. We got great tradition. We got great football teams. But comes with that is going to be the fan base, which is pretty much, I would say, a majority of how well a football team is going to perform. And so you are going to try to have these guys come out here and travel and go to these different places. And, you know, they're not going to have the fan base. There may be, you know, a fifth of the stadium is going to be maybe filled up, and a lot of those are just going to probably be people that hate Ohio State or or hate Michigan that are going to show up in theirs, you know, in their colors. But again, unless you have that fan base like the Spike Squad, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to be successful. I'm sorry.
You're going to see more Lakers jerseys in the stands than you will Trojan shirts and jerseys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be looking like a Miami game. You're gonna have, you know, the first 30, 40 rows might have some people there, but my goodness, once you get that blimp cam, it's gonna be like it's a high school football game.
All right.
Like is De La Salle's JV team playing today? What?
Yeah.
Now I'll tell you this in all seriousness, all right? Because look at where the schools play, right? You have the Coliseum for UCLA and the Rose Bowl the Coliseum for USC, Rose Bowl for UCLA. I'm telling you right now, those stadiums are historic. And I think you add a every other year type feel to it where you're bringing in a USC, you know, my USC and say, for instance, USC in Miami or Michigan. Sorry. Damn it, Turner. Or, you know, Penn State coming to the Rose Bowl, right? Make it matter. Right now, my question is this: how interesting is it going to be for the Rose Bowl? Because the Rose Bowl has that stranglehold, right, on the Big Ten versus Pac-12 in the that bowl game. That's going to look a lot different now. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah. And honestly, I don't understand why the Rose Bowl took themselves out of the playoff rotation.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I just don't.
But it would be crazy. I mean, like, how crazy would it be for USC to win the Big Ten and then they'll end up having to play, you know, like a Stanford in the Rose Bowl? Of course, Stanford would be victorious. But I mean, you know, I just sorry, I had to throw that in there. But it would be crazy, you know. And all, you know, you've got a pretty good coach down at USC, and I think at some point in time he's going to turn things around. But right now, he has 2 years. He has 2 years to be relevant to win a Pac-12 championship. I don't see it. Utah is just too strong in the Pac-12 right now. I mean, they just are. And then you also have Oregon. So between those two, I just don't see it happening.
Because I think the Pac-12 currently has it where the top 2 records will play for the title now.
Yep. So, well, it's North and South.
Well, yeah, no, I think they took the divisional restrictions away. So it's literally like the top 2 records in the Pac-12.
Okay.
Yeah. So with you, I think Utah and USC are both in the South. Depending on how things play out, it could screw Oregon up north. Honestly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
it could honestly do that. Now, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see.
South teams are so bad. I mean, they are absolutely awful. I mean, they're just terrible. So they could end up having a good record. Yeah.
I mean, the North's not any better. Like, you have Washington State, Oregon State. Like, who gives a shit about those schools, man? Like, Washington, like, awful. Let's just be honest. The real Go Dogs, you're watching them right now. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
Um,
Stanford last year were just atrocious. They were awful. I mean, I hate to say that, but they were bad. So it's gonna be interesting.
Patrick saw what you did there, Juan. Go Stanford. All right, guys. So we're gonna obviously listen. That's enough about the hot topic, right? The Pac-12 losing two marquee names out of or marquee universities. But Turner, I think for people that are not familiar still with this, I need you to enlighten people about your campaign from the Spike Squad. Let people know what you're talking about here.
Yeah, so coming up to the Bends, we got Blackout the Bends, Georgia versus Oregon, September 3rd, 3:30 kickoff in the Bends. We're really hoping we can black out the Bends. So as you can see there, Spike Squad wearing the black shoulder pads. We're hoping that Kirby might let loose a little bit after this national championship, maybe even bring out the black jerseys for a game. I know we had them in the Bends against Cincinnati, but we're really just trying to get the fan base behind it, see if we can get a whole bunch of black uniforms and black jerseys, black t-shirts, whatever you got, black sweatshirts. It might be a little warm early September, but indoor stadium, they keep the AC going. So whatever you need, just wear black at that game.
Absolutely. And also, if you need a black shirt or a black jersey, there is no better place to get it. And Alumni Hall, right in Athens, 10 minutes from campus. You're getting Nike jerseys, you're getting Nike shirts, you're getting licensed Georgia apparel. Make sure to go to the Alumni Hall store there in Athens, or you can go online for that matter. Give them a check. Check them out, alumnihall.com. And listen, get you something black to wear to the Bends so you can black out the Bends. Okay, simple enough. Now, Juan, while we have Turner on the show, we did our mailbag Monday, and one of the questions, what was your favorite Spike Squad character? I have to ask you, what's your favorite Spike Squad character ever? Do you have a favorite?
I don't necessarily have a favorite, but I mean, obviously he's here, so it has to be Turner. Duh.
I told him. I told him it was Ric Flair. The Ric Flair got me. Right, the Ric Flair got me.
Oh, the Ric Flair got me.
Nature boy. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ric Flair got a lot of love last year, and man, some of those warm games, he's got the tarp over him, or the cape, and got feathers. It's rough, but he makes it through like a champ. Those late November games, it's a little helpful to stay a little warm, but those early games especially, he goes through it during this noon kickoffs.
So whoever runs Spike Squad Twitter needs to mention Ric Flair and get my man a real robe. Just saying. Now that is a boss move. That's an elite move right there. Hey, while we're at it, before we talk about our rear, Roots has a question for you, Juan. He wants to know, averaged more than 15 yards per catch all 3 years. He wants to know.
I don't know, man. I guess I had some slick moves after the catch, so I was pretty fortunate. Caught some deep balls from Eric Zaire, from Bobo, and even Hines. But I was able to do something with those short passes too. So I was very fortunate. Thanks for the shout out.
So, with that being said, we talked about getting your apparel from Alumni Hall. I just want to give you to Alumni Hall. Listen, what you're seeing right here is from the store. Very comfortable Columbia polo. Obviously, the standing dog got to rock Georgia apparel. You know me. I'm always wearing my Georgia gear. I'm always doing it. Like I said, alumnihall.com. Check them out. Just saying. Check them out. GD sent you, by the way, too. But with that being said, Juan, you're the GOAT, apparently. 63-3. Rudes also says Juan got and Yak Monster. All right, I think we could agree there. Listen, if you're not familiar, man, Juan actually is still top 10 in receiving yards. So just giving you a heads up there. D4 Sports, great show. I love to see passionate fan bases. Thank you, sir. Hey, make sure to like and subscribe too, man. Hopefully you enjoy the content. Listen, we're having a fun time here, man. It's July 1st, another month closer to Georgia football, like we said. And with that, we talk recruiting, right? We talk about recruiting. June was both good and bad for Georgia, right? I think most notably you miss out on Arch Manning, right? Everybody's like, oh, no, Texas, we're back, hook 'em, stuff like this. But nonetheless, Georgia fared fairly well right? In my opinion, Georgia fared fairly well. You get A.J. Harris, 5-star cornerback, right? Now, you miss out on guys like Vic Burley. Now, Clemson, we didn't even talk about Clemson, but my God, what a stretch of June recruiting for them. But nonetheless, June, you have your, you have some, but I think July, you're going to see some fireworks. And I'm not talking about just on the 4th. You could see fireworks for Georgia the entire month, perhaps, throughout the entire month, right? At 1 today, at 1 o'clock, Georgia could be getting a commit from Daniel Harris, right? That's another cornerback, right? Now you sit there and you watched Raylan Wilson decommit in June from Michigan, right, which is a huge target for Georgia. You've got Jamal Jarrett. Sadir Mitchell could be committing soon. God almighty, the list could go on and on. What are y'all's guys' thoughts on July from the recruiting standpoint? It makes sense to me that July would kind of pop because a lot of kids took their officials in June. So from an overall standpoint, Turner, I'll let you start. What are your thoughts on July, and what do you think it can bring for Georgia, for that matter?
Yeah, kind of what you said. I think July is that sweet pocket of everyone just took their visit. There's two groups. There's the group that wants to take their visits over the summer, decide right before the season. And then there's that group that wants to take their visits during the season and decide then. So I think July is really when you get to kind of put an end on those kids that wanted to take their visits in June. And some names we talked about, I think last time I was on the show, like Jonel Aguero, he's committing here pretty soon. Hopefully going to get him. Daniel Harris here in like 20 minutes will be popping. So I think it'll be a really good month. I'm excited to see what Kirby does on the trail.
And as you just saw that Tyler Williams, I know I mentioned toward the top of the show, released top 5, also set a September 27th commitment date. It'll lead into the season, and as Rude says, Kirby works in late waves. Juan, I'm going to let you take it back over, though. What are your thoughts on July, and what are your expectations for July in regards to recruiting for Georgia?
I think it's going to be good. The great thing is a lot of these kids want to just go ahead and commit. I mean, think about Arch Manning. He just wanted to commit, get it over with. He shut down his recruiting, and now he's just going to go and focus on playing football for his senior year. A lot of these kids want to enjoy their senior year, get off this whole recruiting trail. I really, really feel like, we're going to get Caleb Downs. I think Caleb Downs is going to be one of those ones that, I think Kirby's going to work his magic. He's going to come in there and contribute and be big time. I think he enjoyed everything about Georgia. I think he enjoys the recruiting process. I know his parents. Parents are awesome. Dad of a coach, mom is a teacher. So they want him to go ahead and get everything settled. I think Georgia's going to be a great place for him. Also, too, don't forget about Justice Haynes. I think Justice Haynes is going to be one of those ones that he just wants to get it done with. He's a business guy. And I think he's just going to make a great business decision in July and then get focused back on football for his senior year. So I see a lot of dominoes falling in July. A lot of these kids just want to get it over with. And what better place to go than to be at Georgia?
Absolutely. I'm looking at it right here. I think you're right. I think there's some names that could surprisingly announce their commitment, right? And honestly, what better time to be in the brigade, by the way? I know it's kind of a little off-topic subject, but you're getting Arnold Schwarzenegger references in the brigade right now. So I'm just saying, what a time. Just leaving that there. I mean, you get to the chopper in reference to the Kirby copter, okay? Just leaving that there. But I'm looking at it right here, right? You have in 15 minutes, you've got, Daniel Harris going to commit. Then you have Sadir Mitchell that could possibly commit to Georgia. This is a Texas-Georgia battle right now. Big Jaw, July 19th, right? Just in all types of stuff. I think, and listen, it's not even just Georgia. I don't know if y'all have paid attention to social media, but like the past couple of days has been just commits, just nonstop, right? Hayes Fawcett he's probably broke his phone twice with how many commitments and announcements kids been making recently. So, I think you'll see some start to fall in favor for Georgia here soon, very soon, for that matter. And I think you'll see it. And listen, a lot of this, keep in mind, it's always flip season as well, right? These kids could announce beforehand, but I'm telling you right now, how big of a chance could you see a kid decommit from a school if they're starting off terrible, right? If say for instance, if Texas, gets obliterated by, right, if they get obliterated by Bama and then they start to fall off and continue their ways 5 to 7 ways, right? The kids reevaluate that, right? Do you see kids flip? It's possible, right? And if there's anyone better at flipping a kid, he's a dog, by the way, head coach wise. Just leaving that there. And Bishop is loving this damn brigade. Absolutely. We even get a Ric Flair woo in the chat. Let's go, bro. 63. Don't make me do it. I'm like, oh man, don't make me do it. But no. So ultimately, I think July is going to be great for Georgia, right? Ultimately, thinking about it, depending on when and if this happens, you could have 3 of the top 6 linebackers, Juan. Tell me how Glenn Schumann's recruiting without telling me Glenn Schumann's recruiting elite like that. That's insane.
That's pretty dang good.
It's one of those things, obviously, like, I don't know if you heard about it, but, I think Jaden Wayne transferring to IMG is another thing that when I saw that announcement that he was going to IMG, my ears perked up because we've had some recent experiences with kids transferring to IMG and then going to Georgia afterwards. Now, I'm not going to say it will happen, but we have had experiences like that, right? Bear Alexander, for instance. Okay. Ric Flair's the Juan Daniels of I'm just saying, and the brigade accomplishes their goal for the day.
Yeah.
With that being said, right, July is going to be good for the dogs. Then you look at August, because I think there's a dead period right now too, if I'm not mistaken. So keep that in mind as well. But then listen, as the season comes in, we've been familiar with Georgia being a closing type school from recruiting, right? Whether it be a late national signing day flip, George Pickens, closing out throughout the season, stuff like that, right? But I do think you saw the focus is being June, and June being the official visit time, because during the season these kids don't get the full investment of the coaches, right? Let's be honest. So I think you'll see a lot of kids come on unofficials during the season, to get that game day feel, whether that be to solidify their commitment or sway them to a commitment, perhaps, maybe even flip them from somewhere, right? When you get, and this is why I think it's going to be interesting to see, like, this is why I wish we had a better home schedule, in my opinion, because those marquee home games, those kids, that brings in recruits easily, right? Like, it just does. So as we're getting, oh man, doing the Lord's work, apparently making one laugh. Just let it happen. Organic as hell right there. Goal achieved. But Turner, so now that we're talking about that right there, do y'all have any plans for home games, like in regards to recruiting kids, pitches wise?
I won't really know until I get that visitors list. But something that you were talking about earlier with how the season plays out and how that impacts, I've got the schedules pulled up right now. In the first 4 weeks, schools, you got schools like Texas A&M that Texas A&M more last year was hot on the recruiting trail. Might be running out of funds now, but Texas, they play Alabama. I mean, I assume they'll lose that, but I think their biggest game early in the season is Texas Tech. If they go out and they go into the fourth quarter, one-score game against Texas Tech, I think that could play some dividends on the recruiting trail against them. And then same thing with A&M. They're playing Miami, Arkansas, back-to-back weeks. Even App State, who's not a sleeper team. And I think that those games will really show their true colors of who they are. And if they go out and they blow those teams out, that helps them a lot. But if they go in on a tight game, it might be a little difficult for those coaches to sway them.
Yeah, no, so you talk about A&M. The last thing Jimbo wanted happened. Let's be honest. If y'all ain't went on to social media yet, and you ain't saw that Texas A&M video,
yeah.
Oh boy,
the people behind the suites. Yeah. Oh yeah.
The loudest ones are always the guilty ones. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there was a video. I guess it was a phone video of a visit. I don't know if it was somebody that was wearing some A&M gear. Point blank said, you'll get paid a lot of money by the people in them suites if you come to play with us. But Jimbo, hey, listen, guys, it's all about the environment, okay? Just because they have suites, we're going to pay you with loyalty, okay? We're going to pay you with loyalty, $30 million worth of loyalty, okay? So we know, as we knew all along, Jimbo's full of shit, and I'm not going to be sitting here hiding. Cancel me, Jimbo. Cancel me.
Yeah.
I'm sliced bread. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I ain't sliced bread. He might hate sliced bread too much. But no, in all seriousness though, like it's funny how A&M fans were like, "Oh, we didn't pay nobody. That video comes out. I ain't heard shit about that. I just
want to know who got that video out. Like, you never see. Every once in a while, you'll see a recruit post a video of Kirby. Like, I know, I think Christian Miller last year might have had a video of Kirby lifting weights in the new weight room, but you don't see anything come out. You definitely don't see a recruiting pitch going out. And I just want to know, whether it was the parent or the friend of a recruit, or if it was the recruit himself that put that out. But
the funny thing was, it's probably Jonte Cook because they didn't have no trophies. Which speaks volumes because, I mean, let's be honest. The last Texas A&M Bowl they won for a national title was the Dust Bowl. Okay, but nonetheless, listen, Texas got them swimming trophies. Okay, just saying. So they got trophies at least. But nah, in all seriousness, all the banter aside, there, it just proves you, man. It's hypocrisy and no need to lie about this shit. Like, don't insult my intelligence. I said this back when he came out and defended what Saban had said, and he defended it just viciously defensive. Stop insulting our intelligence, man. And that video right there solidifies that we're not stupid. We know, right? We know. And it's the same thing that's going on with Texas right now. Texas just come off a 5-7 season, and you already hitting multiple 5-stars.
Yeah.
But it's okay though. Texas ain't sitting there saying, "Oh, we don't do this. We don't do this." Like, we know. Okay, stop insulting our intelligence. There's your Reynolds rant, by God. Nonetheless, you've got 8 minutes until the commitment for Daniel Harris. Any final parting words, Juan, Turner? Any last? Apparently, it might be oil money. Ruse, it probably is that energy, my man. In all seriousness. Oh, you cooking? You cooking?
Who cooking?
Bitch, you cooking?
They tried to kill my father. Yeah.
Get out of here. Sorry, Dave Chappelle reference. Yes.
Yeah.
This might be a little bit too old for Turner, but it's all good. No, I just thought I'd have some moment there. But in all seriousness, though, right? Any last parting words for the day before we tune off? Basically, take off and watch the commitment unfold. Any last words, Juan, Turner?
I'd say, obviously go Dogs. I think we're going to have a big, huge July. But I'll tell you what, when we talk about Georgia and the Spike Squad having the best fans, I tell you what, this brigade that we have here is hands down the best. You guys are awesome, provide entertainment, but also, great talking and great points back and forth. And you make this fun. You absolutely make this so much fun. And and it's all Georgia. I love it. Great Spike Squad, great brigade. We've got a great football team, and just looking forward to what we're going to be able to do this upcoming year. Everybody have a safe and fun July 4th. Enjoy it, and go Dogs.
Absolutely. Hey, remember, put it in reverse, Terry. Okay, keep that thought in your head. Put it in reverse, Terry. Turner, final words, parting words before we wrap this thing up and go check out a pending commitment.
Check out Alumni Hall. Make sure you give them a visit. Shout out the sponsor. And UGA Spike Squad. Follow us on social media at UGA Spike Squad. Make sure we're blacking out the Benz on September 3rd, and I will see you all there.
You heard the Spike Squad man himself. Go check out Alumni Hall. That's alumnihall.com. Multiple teams. So if you have for some godforsaken reason, if you have a Florida Gator fan that tell them about it. They got a Florida situation. If you my God, Rocky Top's got their own thing, right? Auburn, Jesus Christ. Maybe buy a shirt just to go take it to Toomer's Corner and burn it on the tree or something. I don't know. Alumnihall.com. Go give them a check. Check them out. Get you something black for the Benz or from home if you're not able to make it. And also, if you're not following the UGA Spike Squad social media, I don't know why you're a Georgia fan. You need to be doing that. If you listen at UGA Spike Squad, or you can go to dgdpodcast.com and you can find them there. Okay. Just go give them a follow. IG, Instagram, Twitter. Go give them a follow today. Like right now. You ain't doing nothing. You waiting for a commitment right now. I'm going to leave it with this. Everybody have a great 4th of July. Understand the meaning of it, right? I know it's full of fireworks, full of brats or hot dogs or burgers or grilling out for that matter. A lot of apple juice is being consumed on the 4th of July. Please be responsible, right? If you're going to let off fireworks, please don't get drunk and lose your shit and get hurt. We don't want to hear stuff like that, okay? If you're going to Lake Lanier, be responsible. Be responsible. We know Lake Lanier, okay? That is Satan's playground. But on that note, though, get ready for when I see that, okay? Because we get in a dog here in about 5 minutes. I'm just going to leave that there. With that being said, like I said, go check out Alumni Hall. Give the Spike Squad a follow. Make sure to like, subscribe because we're on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, right? Everything like that, Instagram, whatever case may be. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, ring the bell. Pun intended, not really. Ring the bell. Make sure you get notified when we go live for that matter. Guys, have a great day. Hey, remember, September, black out the bins. Whether you're at the bins or you're at the house, black out the bins, wear black, and get it from alumnihall.com. Okay? Juan, have a great Friday. Have a great happy 4th. Turner, you do the same, my man. Where can people – we already know where the Spike Squad is. But dgdpodcast.com, you can find the Spike Squad. Give them a follow. Let them know DGD sent you, but you need to be doing it anyway. With that being said, I've ranted enough. Brigade coming in hot and heavy the entire show. Much love to the Brigade. And with that being said, we'll catch y'all back on the next episode. Go Dogs and happy 4th.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.